Can you turn Dendro Traveler to a main DPS? Wait, let me rephrase that. Can someone like me turn Dendro Traveler to a main DPS? Let's just say I'm not very good at building teams. While everyone else is doing millions of damage, I'm still here sniffing copium with my 5k damage Noel. But even so, I thought I could still do it. For this to work, I had to achieve two goals. One is to build a decent team, because I really need some more options when it comes to fighting or just exploration. The second is making the Dendro Traveler the main DPS of that team. Obviously, I might have failed to do this with another element of the Traveler, but this time, I wasn't going to let that happen. So here's how I did it. The first thing I had to do was level up the talents. The cool thing about the Traveler is that you don't have to ascend them each time you get a new element, which means all you really have to worry about are their other attributes. Their talents in particular are usually the longest to deal with. Not only do you need a massive amount of enemy materials, but also the talent books themselves. In case you need a reminder on the different talents, first there's Normal Attack Foreign Field Cleaver, which is basically the normal attack with a different name. Apparently, that's enough to set it back to level 1 though. Next you have Razor Grass Blade, which deals AoE damage and applies Dendro. Not too much to say here. Then you have your ult or Surgent Manifestation. I find this one to be a bit misleading on how it's described. Instead of dealing continuous Dendro damage in its AoE, it continuously hits one opponent in its radius with an AoE Dendro attack. It also reacts with Hydro, Electro, and Pyro, with Hydro increasing the lamp's radius and AoE of attack, Electro increasing the lamp's attack speed, and Pyro setting off a nuke. Okay, maybe not, but it does an explosion with higher attack skill. As for the passive talents, Overgrowth increases your active character's EM the longer your ult is on the field. Do note you do have to be inside the ult radius for this to work. And Luxury increases your skill and ult damage the more EM you have. Now, back to leveling up those talents. There are many ways you can get talent books, ranging from opening chests, interacting with specific Arnara, and from some domains. But by far, the most effective way to obtain them is through the talent book domain. The fact that these books are time-gated and you need all three variants of them makes them somewhat annoying to deal with. Luckily, I knew which ones I needed, because the talent levels alternate from the one obtained on Monday to the one on Wednesday. In this case, it was Admonition followed by Ingenuity and then Praxis. I checked how many of each I needed for each level by using my other character's talents, and after that, I just had to grind for the books. Being limited to 160 resin meant that I could only get 8 gold books per day, with an average of 1 gold book every time I completed the domain. With enough time and patience though, I was able to get all the books I needed. But like I said before, they weren't the only things I had to get. Funnily enough, the floating fungi, which originally dropped these materials, have been out since the Chasm update, but I haven't been farming them, so I still needed a lot more. The good news is that more fungi have been added to Genshin Impact since Sumo released. This means I have more opportunities to get the materials each day. Except if it weren't for another thing they added. Fungi now drops a second type of material, which from my experience, decreases the amount of the material that I needed significantly. After farming for a while, you can start to see the disproportionate amount of nucleus to spores ahead. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But there's actually a way around this. Similar to how the mushroom jumping pad interacts with Pyro and Electro, fungi will also change if you apply one of those elements to them. The changed fungi is the only form that can drop the nucleus. You also can't revert it, by the way. Basically, don't use Pyro or Electro. I only figured this out after spending multiple days farming these mushrooms. So yeah, big mistake on my part, but I still managed to get the remaining materials without further problem. And with that, I had everything I needed to level up my talents. Or did I? Some of you may have noticed the amount of materials I have is not enough to max out everything. For example, you need a total of 33 blue and 36 gold Ingenuity books for all 3 talents. With all my books, I can get 33 blue, but only 26 gold. Now, I'm not a mathematician or anything, but I'm pretty sure 26 is less than 36. The reason for this is because I'm not going to max out my talents. It's not that I don't have the Mora or crowns, but rather I don't have enough of the Raiden Shogun's materials. The problem here is it can only be farmed on a weekly basis, and I just started the domain the week before Sumo released. So unfortunately, I'll have to settle with lower talent levels. Anyway, here's the final result. Talents level 699. Nice. Next up, constellations. A short explanation on all of these. The first makes her skill regenerate 3.5 energy. The second lengthens her ult by 3 seconds. The third increases your skill level by 3. The fourth gives your ult 5 stacks of overgrowth effects when it reacts with one of the 3 elements. The fifth increases your ult level by 3, and finally the sixth constellation. This increases your Dendro damage bonus by 12% when you have overgrowth effect on, while also increasing the damage bonus of whatever element your ult reacts with. As always, you can obtain all 6 constellations by just playing the game. 4 of them are obtained through the Statue of the Seven, while the other 2 are through the Archon quest. As of 3.0, you are limited to 3 constellations for the Traveler. I actually got this story constellation pretty early on, even before I had enough materials for the talents. I will admit, it was partly due to the fact that you're locked into the story for the second half. An interesting feature, huh? The other 2 constellations took hours of farming Dendroculus. Most of them were relatively easy to get because of... Yeah, I just watched the video. But even this strategy has its limits. I still had to do some of the R&R world quests to get a few. It took me a while, but I got the Dendroculus I needed and leveled up the Statue of the Seven. Those are the constellations done. Alongside all of this, I decided to use a bit of my Primogems. But no, not for rolling on the character banner. Instead, I used them to roll on the artifact domain. Normally, I would try to avoid these domains at all costs. However, since Dendro was a new element, I couldn't just borrow artifacts from the Traveler. So yeah, I got stacked on both Deepwood Memories and Gilded Dream sets. Let's see how it went. Some were decent, others not really. After accumulating a couple of artifacts, I was ready to level them up. I wanted a decent 4-piece Gilded Dream set, and really tried all my options, but the crit just wasn't enough. I even attempted to alternate between the 4-piece set and the 2-piece sets, yet nothing was satisfying me. In the end, I decided to go with this 4-piece set, which as you can see, it's not exactly what you would call optimal artifacts. But hey, at least my crit rate improved from before. Now, the only upgrade left for the Traveler is their weapon. Usually I would go with the Festering Desire, as it is a really good weapon for the Traveler. But I'm optimizing for damage here, so it's going in the bin. We're going to need another sword, and fortunately, I had one in mind. With the R&R quest already done and access to Vanarana, I went into the cave with the giant glowing onion and talked to this R&R, who gave me the recipe for the sapwood blade. Then I made my way to the blacksmith, unlocked the recipe, and found that I couldn't craft a weapon. Apparently, you needed a different billet for that sword, plus I realized it was also an ER weapon. Yeah, that was kinda pointless. I don't really have any better weapons, so I went with the Lion's Roar. It increases my damage against Pyro or Electro, which will come in handy when I explain my team. So let's talk about my team comp. I wanted to create one that revolved around one of the many Dendro reactions, and there's quite a few, but I limited my options quickly. First, the reaction has to come from the Traveler, which immediately eliminates Hyperbloom and Burgeon, since they both use EM of another character. Second, Bloom's also gone because it's boring without Hyperbloom and Burgeon. And third, I didn't want to create a team around Burning. I mean, do I really have to explain? Anyway, that just leaves me with the Quicken reactions. At face value, this reaction wouldn't be compatible with the Traveler either, since it would seem the first character to apply Dendro or Electro causes the next reaction. But unlike Melt or Vaporize, Quicken has a unique feature that allows it to stay on for a bit, even if Aggravate or Spread has already been activated. In other words, you can do multiple of those reactions within a single Quicken effect. And that's why I went with this sync comp. If you're wondering how I'm going to avoid burning with Bennett, he's just going to put his ult down. That's his only job. Oh yeah, and I put this 4-piece Deepwood Memory set on Official to reduce Dendro res. With that being said, the only thing left to do is to kill some bosses with the Dendro Traveler. DPS edition. It's not the best team I've created, but it's still fun to play. If you're interested in trying this out yourself, I'm sure you'll build a better DPS Traveler and team. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching, subscribe for more bad content, follow my Twitch if you want to watch me live, and I'll see you in another video. Take care.
Teamwork is dream decided by destiny. Storm the front. Scatter. Spring forth. Let's light it up.
Oh my gosh, 100,000!